You are listening to episode 197 of the Confident Coaches podcast. We're just going to take self-love to a whole new level today. Let's go.
Welcome to the Confident Coaches podcast, a place for creating the self-confidence you need to do your best work as a life coach. If you want to bring more boldness, more resilience, and more joy to your work, this is the place for you. I'm your host, Amy Latta. Let's dive in.
Hey, Coach. So this is a part two. This is a part two of last week's episode. And it can stand alone. It certainly can. It's going to make a heck of a lot more sense, however, if you listen to the first one. So if you haven't listened to episode 196, which is the Fuck 'em, Be Unapologetically You, just press pause on this one, go back, listen to that one, star that one, flag that one. You're going to want to keep that one in your back pocket. You're going to need that one probably at least once a week. And then when you're done with that, come back to this one, because this is the natural follow-up. Also, that episode is full of F-bombs. I'm just kind of warning you. This one is going to have a couple. It's already had one. Not nearly the same level. Okay. All right. So you're all caught up. And, it's really funny. Last week's episode it did not remind me of the Barbie movie where, the message was there. The message that, men are hurt just as much by the patriarchy and they deserve more than to, either be victimized or dominated. That message was in there, but it was a little quiet and a lot of people missed it. And this is kind of the same thing. The assuming the best in you was talked about in there. Because when you activate that fuck 'em energy, this coaching tool that I for sure want all of you using from this point forward, where you stop focusing on the people who assume the worst in you, that you will then snap yourself out of it to focus on your relationship with yourself, to focus on the people who assume the best in you. And are you willing to become a person who assumes the best in you? Now, this is implied in last week's episode. I don't not talk about fuck 'em being an invitation to really center yourself in your relationship with you, that it's about a relationship with yourself. But let's put it into the words that maybe we haven't talked about it, right? Because this is an entirely different conversation. We want others to expect the best in us, but do we do that for ourselves? And I want you to think about when you're putting names and faces to people who are assuming the worst in you, are you at the top of that list? Because if we find ourselves fixated by people who do assume the worst in us, we probably are the unnamed person at the top of that list. Because if you are not on that list, if you do not assume the worst in you, you really do give two fucks for the people who do. You just don't care because you assume the best in you. So fuck 'em energy is an invitation to turn inward. Yes, focus on people who assume the best in you, but why not become one of those people? Yeah, you thought I was going to let you off the hook last week, right? You thought I was just going to glance over that focus on a relationship with yourself. It gets its own separate episode. Fuck 'em is what you're going to activate to get your head out of the spin, right? It's the fuck 'em is that thing that you need to remind yourself, snap out of it, right? It's the slap across your face to remember, wait, I can't actually control what they may or may not think of me. But if you aren't doing the work of expecting the best in you, then you're not actually doing the hardest work. So we had this conversation in the free Facebook group that I've mentioned before, Play More, Sell More, on Facebook. It's absolutely free. You can go join it right now. And we talked about this, where I asked in a live pep talk, Where are you still assuming the worst in yourself? And I actually threw out some questions. I'm going to share them with you right here. Where are you assuming the worst in you? Like, actually, grab some paper, grab a pen. Where are you still assuming the worst in you? Like, specifically, how you function, how you show up in your business. Where are you already assuming you're going to fuck up? Where are you already assuming you're probably going to screw up? What are you hoping you will never ever do again? What are things you were trying to avoid doing? What are things you worry that you might do or not do? Right? So what are you trying to avoid? We're hoping you're never going to do again. What are the things that you're afraid you might start doing again or stop doing? Know what those things are, because this is where you're assuming the worst in you, right? Because then from there, then we can explore the deeper work that's there is, what will you feel if you can't avoid that? Like, what if you do that thing again? And let's just pick an example. Like, what if one of the things that you're trying to avoid is to never not be consistent, right? Like, from this point forward, I'm just always going to be consistent. I'm just always going to stick with my content plan. So you are avoiding not sticking with your content plan. Because really what you're avoiding is the belief that you're unreliable, that you're lazy, you're avoiding feeling disappointed in yourself, you're avoiding feeling shame or guilt. Do you know what you're actually avoiding? What you're going to think about yourself? How you're going to feel about yourself? Because that's the part when you are assuming the worst in yourself. That's how that feels. That's what you're believing about you. And knowing what those things are so that we can flip the coin. And how do you want to decide to love yourself or to support yourself? To hold space for yourself when you do those things. Right now, your mind is telling you that the solution is just to never do those things ever again. Never get a bad review, never have a client tell you that they weren't satisfied with your coaching, never not show up, never not do what you say you're going to do, never not have a typo, never not look absolutely professional all of the time, never not get caught doing something you don't want anybody else to see. Your mind's telling you that that's the solution to loving yourself unapologetically. But it's like the opposite of loving yourself unapologetically. Right? Your mind is telling you that perfection 100% of the time, 100% perfect, 100% of the time is the only way that you can assume the best in yourself. And that is not the definition. Assuming the best in yourself is knowing that you are still going to do those things. But you don't trash yourself. You have your own back through that. You love yourself even when. I've done podcast episodes about I am worthy even when. I love myself even when. This is a different doorway to the same conversation that is really all of our work. This was already going to be the conversation we were going to have and Play More, Sell More, but it is really funny that same morning, a friend of mine posted this. It's like a Twitter meme, right? It's something somebody posted on Twitter years ago that has now turned into a meme. And this is what this reminded me of. The Twitter meme says, all of my plans for the future involve me waking up tomorrow with a sudden sense of discipline and adherence to routine that I've never displayed even once in my life. Like, that's me, right? Here's another way to think about this. And this one I think is more relatable, and you're going to see it. Now, your mind's going to try to tell you that it's different in business, and I'm going to call bullshit every day of the week. This is the same thing as somebody who's like, all of my plans for losing weight involve me waking up tomorrow with this sudden sense of discipline and adherence routine, with a brand new eating routine, a brand new workout routine, with which I will never, ever not follow to a T for the rest of my life. And that's the only way I can actually achieve health and fitness and weight loss. Now, you and I both know that's not true. You and I both know that you can follow that plan half-ass most of the time, maybe-ish, and still achieve huge gains. Completely change your life. You can be a hot mess express and still leave a positive mark on this world. You can show up half-ass and still create huge change in your life. And when you assume the best in yourself, you allow for those times when you aren't showing up 100%, but you are making progress every day. You are creating success in your life in this moment right now. That your mind assumes that the only other option is perfection all of the time. We can see in that instance of weight loss. Let's say you're a parenting coach and your client is going to try to tell you that the only thing that's acceptable is if they never have a fight with their husband ever again, they never fight with their children ever again, they always say the exact perfect thing every single time. You and I both know would be like, that's not actually a thing. That the only way to be a good parent is to never yell at your children and always follow through on exactly what you said and always do it perfectly to a T. Nope. That the only way to have a successful marriage is to never fight with your spouse and to always be completely on board with everything at the same time, always. Nope. You and I both know that that's not what that is. And yet you're doing that to yourself in your business. That the only way that you can see the best in yourself is if you are, in fact, perfect, which you and I both know isn't a real thing. Or you can decide now that you're going to assume the best in yourself. And these things that you hope to avoid, these things that you hope aren't going to happen again, set up systems to help them not happen. And decide now how you're going to love yourself through that, how you're going to support yourself through that. Because here's this. What's the downside to that? What's the downside to not beating the shit out of yourself? Now, I know your mind is going, it'll all go to hell. The downside to giving myself even a centimeter of grace is everything goes to hell. Which, again, we know that's not true in any other arena. For any of our clients, we would never coach them that way. What makes this different? Why not assume the best in yourself? Right? We will tell ourselves, if I love myself unapologetically, then I'm just going to let myself get away with anything. But is that really true? Or is that just what we've been conditioned to believe since we were so little that we never considered anything else? That we have to shame our way or hate our way to positive change? That literally makes no sense. We can step back and we can see that. This is about, I understand, because my mind says the same thing. I understand that we believe that. But deciding from this moment forward that we're not going to anymore. And that part of our mind can scream and yell. And we can say, I see you and I hear you, but I'm actually going to work on something entirely different. Here's another avenue to look at this. Think of people that you do love unconditionally. I don't know who that is for you. It's going to be somebody very different. So if I mention something that you're like, ooh, no, horrible relationship, I apologize in advance because it's going to be different for everybody. Maybe this is your best friend in the entire world. Maybe these are your kids. Maybe this is your sister or your brother. Maybe this is your mom or another family member. Like they could totally, royally fuck up. And you might feel emotions over it. And you might need a moment or two, right? But because you love them, because you assume the best in them, and you want the best for them, You'll still love them through those moments. You can still hold space for them to correct anything that might need corrected and trust that they're still going to keep moving forward even though they did that thing. Is that available for you? And if not, why not? Why is that possible for others but not for yourself? Why is it okay for them, but it's not okay for you? When you assume the best in people, you don't take them down for every little thing that they say. You're not looking for reasons to yell at them all of the time. So why do that to yourself? Why assume the worst in you when assuming the best in you is completely available to you right now? When you look at the list of things that you should do, right? All your shoulds. Like, I should operate normally, Amy, in her ADHD mind. I should never, ever be late. I should always be focused. I should always send the emails as soon as I'm thinking about them. I should always make sure that my team has the replay information that they need. I should never not be editing workbooks in the middle of a live training. I should always have everything, all my I's dotted and my T's crossed ahead of time all of the time. I should post every day. I should be consistent. I shouldn't take time off or long breaks. I should always be professional. I should always be intentional. Oh. You're deciding that that's the only way you can assume the best in yourself. Bullshit. Like, feel the weight of that. Because what you're saying is you should be perfect because anything less than isn't going to create the success that you want. But maybe that is also just something that you've learned, just because that's what's been modeled for you. And here's what I want to offer to you. I guarantee you, every single human being who's had massive success has screwed up more than once. I know I've talked about that on the podcast multiple times before. All the failed launches, all the things that didn't work out, all the times things didn't land. Messing up is part of it. If you were someone you assumed the best in, you would still believe that they can create whatever success they want, even if they do fuck up, even if they do take 5 steps back. Like, if somebody needed to take a break, you'd say, okay, you do what you need. I'm right here. I'm cheering you on. I've got your back whenever you are ready. Why not do that for yourself? And listen, I get it. Loving yourself unapologetically, it goes against so much of what we were told. You're going to be arrogant. You're going to be conceited. Maybe that's just a lie. Maybe you're just going to give yourself the same grace you are desperately waiting for others to give you first. But you don't have to wait. You can start assuming the best in yourself today. So again, know what your list of things are that you're hoping you're never going to do again, what you're trying to avoid at all costs. And decide now how you're going to assume the best in you now. Rather than hope those things don't happen, decide now how you're going to be there for yourself when those things do happen. Make that plan where you're going to feel your emotions, maybe reach out to a therapist or your coach, nurture your nervous system, reach out to that friend who's going to support you through, be there in a group community like Free to Paid Coach or at the mastermind level where you can say, you can have those people cheering you on. That is a much better plan than just wishing and hoping and praying that those things never happen, because they're going to happen. But when you assume the best in yourself, those things happening aren't devastating. They just become a part of things that are happening and you can keep moving forward. So, are you ready to love yourself unapologetically? Listen, I think this is another episode that you keep in your pocket for when you need it. Listen to it regularly for when you need it. I cannot wait to see what you create, whether you are tripping, fumbling, face planting. As long as we just keep moving forward, I am right here with you. And I'll talk to you next week. Coach, it's time to sign your first free client, your first paid client, your next client, and to learn how to do it consistently and having a hell of a lot of fun along the way. This is exactly what you're going to do in Free to Paid Coach. It's the only program giving you step-by-step what to do to become a paid coach and step-by-step how to handle the roller coaster emotions that come with doing what you need to do to become a paid coach. If you know you can't not do this life coaching thing, but believing that you can do it, handling rejection, and remembering how to do all of those things shuts you down, the Free to Paid Coach community is waiting for you. Find everything that you're looking for inside. It's only $1,000, payments are available, and then you are in forever. Visit amylatta.com/FTPC to join us right now. See you inside. Let's get paid, coach.
Thanks so much for listening to the Confident Coaches podcast. I invite you to learn more. Come visit me at amylatta.com. And until next week, let's go do epic stuff.